You raise your arm to wave at someone, and the skin on the back of your arm keeps moving even after your hand stops. That loose, jiggly tissue, what most people call bat wings, is not just a cosmetic issue. It's a clinical signal. Your body is showing you that something deeper is going wrong under the surface. And if you ignore it, the problem doesn't stay limited to your arms. It slowly spreads into other areas of your body. Now here's the part most people get completely wrong. This is not just about fat, it's not simply aging, and it's definitely not something you need expensive treatments to fix. What you're actually looking at is a combination of connective tissue breakdown, poor circulation, and fluid accumulation beneath the skin. And the reason it shows up in the back of your arms first is because this is one of the most neglected movement zones in the entire body. Most daily activities use the front of your arms, not the back. Over time, this creates stagnation, and stagnation always leads to breakdown. But the good news is this: once you understand the real cause, you can start reversing it. Not with complicated routines, not with machines, but with a few targeted actions done consistently. To understand what's happening, you need to look beneath the surface of your skin. Your arm is not just one layer, it's a system of layers working together. First, the outer skin, beneath that, a layer of subcutaneous fat, and under that, a thin but extremely important structure called fascia. Fascia is like your body's internal support system. It holds tissues in place and allows them to glide smoothly. When circulation is strong, these layers stay flexible and mobile. But when blood flow becomes sluggish over time, these layers begin to stick together. This process is called fibrosis. And fibrosis changes everything. Instead of soft, mobile tissue, you get stiff, thickened areas that don't move the way they should. At the same time, fluid begins to accumulate between these layers. This is called subclinical edema, fluid retention that you don't clearly see, but that adds weight and puffiness to the tissue. Combine that with gravity, and the result is sagging. So what you're seeing is not just loose skin, it's a combination of poor circulation, fluid buildup, and tissue adhesion all working together. Now let's talk about why this happens specifically in the back of the arm. The muscle responsible for keeping this area tight is called the triceps. It's the muscle that straightens your elbow. But here's the problem: most people barely use it in daily life. Think about your routine. You lift things, hold your phone, carry bags, all of that uses the front of your arm. The back of your arm stays inactive, and when a muscle is inactive, circulation slows down. Tiny blood vessels called capillaries stop delivering oxygen efficiently. When that happens, fluid begins to collect in the spaces between cells instead of flowing normally. This creates a heavy, stagnant environment inside the tissue. Over time, that tissue loses its firmness and begins to sag. This is why targeted fat loss doesn't fix the problem, because the issue isn't fat, it's function, it's circulation, it's muscle activation, and until those are restored, no cream, no device, no shortcut will give you lasting results. The first step to reversing this process is something simple but very powerful: manual pinch stimulation. And I'll be honest, it's not going to feel pleasant at first. Take the skin on the back of your arm and start pinching small sections between your fingers. Not deep grabs, small, superficial pinches. And here's what you'll notice. Certain areas will feel sharp, almost painful. That's not random. That's where the tissue is most stuck, where circulation has been poor for the longest time. What you're doing with this technique is physically separating the layers of skin, fat, and fascia. You're breaking those adhesions, and the moment you do that, blood flow increases, oxygen returns, nutrients reach the cells, and this activates the fibroblasts, the cells responsible for producing collagen. Collagen is what gives your skin firmness and structure. When collagen production increases, the tissue begins to tighten unnaturally. This is not a temporary effect. It's actual repair happening inside your body. Now here's the key: consistency. You need to do this daily, and within 2 to 3 weeks, something interesting happens. The pain decreases, the tissue feels softer. That's your feedback. It means circulation is improving. It means the layers are separating. It means the process is working. But this is only the first part of the solution. Because while you're improving the surface tissue, you also need to address the muscle underneath. Without muscle support, the skin has nothing to hold on to. And that's where most people fail. They try to fix the surface without strengthening the structure underneath. In the next step, we're going to activate the one muscle that changes everything in this area, the triceps. And once that muscle starts working again, the entire system begins to shift. Now we move to the second step, the one that most people avoid, but the one that actually changes the structure of your arm: muscle activation. Specifically, the triceps. This is the muscle that sits at the back of your upper arm, and when it's weak, everything above it loses support. Skin doesn't sag on its own, it sags because there's nothing firm underneath holding it in place. And the biggest mistake people make here is doing the wrong exercise. Wide push-ups, random arm swings, light weights, they don't target the triceps effectively. The most efficient movement is the narrow grip push-up. The key detail is simple but critical. Keep your elbows close to your body. The moment your elbows flare out, the load shifts away from the triceps and into your chest and shoulders. That's where most people go wrong. Now, if a full push-up feels too difficult, don't force it. Start against a wall, lean forward slightly and push. That is not a beginner move, it's a controlled way to build strength progressively. From wall, move to a table, then a chair, and eventually the floor. This progression is how real strength is built, not by forcing intensity, but by gradually increasing load over time. Here's what happens when you start activating the triceps correctly. Blood flow increases immediately, and not just in the muscle but in the entire surrounding tissue. Remember what we talked about earlier, stagnation is the root problem. When a muscle contracts and relaxes repeatedly, it acts like a pump. It pushes blood into the area, pulls waste products out, and restores circulation at the microscopic level. That means oxygen delivery improves, nutrient supply increases, and the entire environment inside the tissue begins to shift. Over time, this changes the quality of the tissue itself. The muscle becomes firmer, the skin above it becomes tighter, and that loose, heavy feeling in the back of the arm starts to reduce. But here's the key: you need consistency. 2 or 3 reps won't change anything. You need controlled, repeated activation, slow movements, full extension at the elbow, and proper form. Because this is not about burning calories, it's about restoring function. And when function is restored, the appearance follows automatically. Now we add the third element, and this is where most routines fail completely: stretching. Not random stretching, but structured stretching. Your muscle needs to be lengthened before and after it's loaded. This is not optional, it's part of how the body repairs itself. Before you do your push-ups, raise your arm overhead, bend your elbow so your hand drops behind your head, and gently pull the elbow sideways. You'll feel a stretch along the back of your arm. That's your triceps being lengthened. This prepares the tissue for loading. Then you perform your push-ups, and immediately after, you repeat the stretch again. This post-stretch is even more important. It helps remove metabolic waste that builds up during exercise. It improves recovery, and it enhances the delivery of nutrients into the muscle fibers. This is how you accelerate adaptation. Most people skip this step, and that's why they don't see results, because they're only doing half the process. Now let's introduce something different: dynamic loading arm swings. This is not about slow, controlled movement. This is about using momentum to create a deeper stretch than static exercises can achieve. Stand upright and swing your arms forward and backward in a controlled but energetic motion. As your arm swings back, the triceps and surrounding fascia are pulled into a deep stretch that you cannot replicate with slow movement alone. At the same time, your muscles engage to control and decelerate the motion. This creates a dual effect: stretching and strengthening happening together. This is why this technique is used in sports rehabilitation. It improves tissue mobility and muscle tone at the same time. And when you combine this with your manual work and strength training, the results compound quickly. The tissue becomes more flexible, more responsive, and more functional. Now let's zoom out for a moment, because this is not just about your arms. What you're seeing in the back of your arms is often the first visible sign of something happening throughout your body. Connective tissue does not break down in isolation. When collagen weakens in one area, it usually means it's weakening everywhere. You may start to notice changes in your jawline, your neck, your abdomen, or even your legs. And one of the most overlooked causes of this systemic weakening is vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D is not just about bones, it directly affects collagen production. The cells that produce collagen fibroblasts need vitamin D to function properly. When levels are low, collagen production slows down, and over time, the structural integrity of your tissue declines. This is why so many people experience sagging, weakness, and loss of firmness as they age, and the reality is many people are deficient without even knowing it. So if you're serious about fixing this problem at the root, you don't just work on the surface, you support your body internally as well. Now let's take everything you've learned and turn it into something simple and actionable, because information alone doesn't change your body, consistent action does. The protocol is not complicated. In fact, that's exactly why it works. Every day you spend just a few minutes on 3 key actions. First, manual pinch work on the back of your arms, 5 minutes, focused, small pinches, not large grabs. This breaks adhesions, improves circulation, and activates collagen production. Second, triceps activation, narrow push-ups, done at your current level wall, table, chair, or floor, controlled movement, elbows close to your body. This builds the structural support your skin needs. And third, proper stretching, before and after every session. Because without stretching, you're only doing half the job. When you combine these 3 steps, you are not just exercising, you are restoring function at a biological level. And that's what creates real change. Now here's something most people don't realize until they experience it. The first changes you notice are not visual, they're sensory. Your arm feels lighter, less heavy, less stagnant. That tight, dense feeling in the tissue begins to soften. That's circulation returning, that's fluid moving again, and only after that do the visible changes begin. The skin starts to look smoother, the sagging reduces slightly. And over time, the difference becomes obvious. But this is where most people make a critical mistake. They expect instant transformation, and when they don't see dramatic results in a few days, they stop. That's exactly why they never fix the problem. Because this is not a surface issue, it's a tissue-level issue, and tissue takes time to remodel. But once it starts, the change is real and lasting. Let me be very clear about something. There is no shortcut that replaces this process. No cream, no machine, no quick fix that rebuilds tissue the way your body naturally can. Most treatments you see advertised are designed to improve appearance temporarily, not fix the underlying biology. That's why the results don't last. Because the cause is still there: poor circulation, weak muscle, stagnant tissue. And until those are addressed, the problem always comes back. What you're doing with this protocol is different. You're restoring the system. You're giving your body the conditions it needs to repair itself. And when the system works correctly, the results sustain themselves. That's the difference between treatment and correction. Now let's talk about something deeper: consistency over intensity. You don't need to do this perfectly. You don't need to spend hours, but you do need to show up every day. 5 to 10 minutes is enough, because the body responds to repetition, not effort spikes. One intense session followed by days of nothing does not create change. Small, consistent input does. And here's what happens when you stay consistent. Your circulation stabilizes, your muscle tone improves, your collagen production increases, and over time, your body starts maintaining that improvement on its own. This is how real transformation happens, not through force, but through consistency. And here's the most important part of all this: is not just about your arms. What you're fixing here is a pattern of stagnation, of underuse, of poor circulation. And once you correct it in one area, you start to recognize it in others. Your neck, your jawline, your abdomen, they all follow the same principles. This is how you move from reacting to symptoms to understanding your body, because your body is not working against you. It's responding to how you use it, and when you give it the right input, it responds immediately. So don't look at this as a small cosmetic fix. Look at it as the beginning of something bigger, a shift in how you approach your health. Now let's talk about something most people don't want to hear but absolutely need to understand. This problem does not fix itself. Time does not reverse it. In fact, time makes it worse, because the longer tissue stays stagnant, the more fibrosis builds up, the more collagen breaks down, the more fluid accumulates. And eventually, what starts as mild looseness becomes something much harder to reverse. That's why early action matters. Not because the problem is urgent, but because the solution is easier when you start early. The body is incredibly adaptable, but only when you give it the right stimulus. If you wait until the tissue has been inactive for years, the process becomes slower. Still possible, but slower. So the question is not, can this be fixed? The question is, when will you start? Because the timeline of your results depends entirely on the timeline of your action. Now here's something that separates people who get results from those who don't. Awareness is not enough. Understanding the problem does not change your body. Action does, and more importantly, repeated action. You don't need motivation. You need a system. Something simple enough that you can follow even when you don't feel like it. 5 minutes. That's all it takes to start the process. And once you begin, something interesting happens. The resistance disappears because the body responds quickly to the right input. You feel the difference, and that feeling becomes your motivation. Not external pressure, not discipline, feedback, real, physical feedback from your own body, telling you that what you're doing is working. Now let's address one of the biggest mental barriers: comparison. You might look at someone else and think they don't have this problem. Why do I? But your body is not anyone else's body. Your habits, your movement patterns, your circulation, all of it is unique. And this condition is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of underuse. That's it. It's not about genetics. It's not about luck. It's about how the tissue has been used or not used over time. And the moment you change that input, your body starts adapting. That's the advantage you have, because unlike many health issues, this one responds directly to simple mechanical changes. No complexity, no guesswork, just consistent input. Now step back and look at what you've learned. You came into this thinking this was a fat problem, a cosmetic issue, something surface level, and now you understand it's something completely different. It's circulation, it's connective tissue, it's muscle function, three systems working together. And when those systems are neglected, the result shows up visually. But when those systems are restored, the result also shows up visually. That's the key shift. You're not chasing appearance anymore, you're restoring function. And when function improves, appearance follows automatically. That's how the body works, always has. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The skin on your arms is not your enemy. It's a messenger. It's showing you exactly what's happening beneath the surface. And most people ignore that message. They try to cover it, hide it, or fight it with the wrong tools. But you're not most people. You understand what's actually happening now. And that puts you in a completely different position, because you don't need expensive solutions. You don't need complicated routines. You just need to apply the right input consistently, 5 minutes a day. That's it. And if you do that, your body will do what it's designed to do: repair, adapt, and improve. The only thing standing between where you are now and where you want to be is whether you start